In life, we all encounter obstacles, and those obstacles come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. The question is, how do we handle those obstacles? Do we attack them head on, or do we allow them to make us quit? Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to motivate and inspire listeners to never give up on themselves, their dreams, or their goals. We will interview successful people from all walks of life as they share their no-quit stories when they had the choice to give up or give in, but they didn't. We thank you for listening, and we hope to be that jolt of positivity as you go for your greatness. Welcome to episode number 223 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is the importance of being you. Our quote of the day comes to us from James Leo Hurley. Be yourself. No one can ever tell you you're doing it wrong. Today's episode is sponsored by Kahn. Your journey is your story. Kahn is a lifestyle jewelry brand that simply exists to embody your unique personal journey and remind you that no matter how difficult life can be, anything is possible. Be the dream, be the change with Kahn. Follow at Kahn Life, QAN, and support the mission at kahnlife.com, QANLIFE.com. I'm really excited to bring you today's episode. Although I only met Kerri Hummingbird a couple of weeks ago, we instantly connected. And as I was extremely fortunate enough to be a guest on her show, I'm honored to be able to return the favor to her today. Her positive spirit and approach towards life would be impossible to miss. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Kerri, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Me too, and I appreciate you being here. And the first question I ask everybody is, are you ready to bring it today?
Oh yeah, definitely, always.
So the first question I ask, which is kind of the theme of our show, is I ask each guest if they have either a no-quit story or perhaps a really challenging time that tested you and you could have given up or given in, but you didn't.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the first 42 years of my life. Something like that. Yeah, I had some rocky beginnings, 0 to 5. I had two different dads, 0 to 5, and then got a permanent dad at 5. But that damage, 0 to 5, really caused some havoc. So about 15, I ended up going to a psychiatrist because I had very dramatically taken some pills, and my parents put me in psychotherapy. They were concerned about me. So that's kicked off a lifetime of psychotherapy, decades of weekly psychotherapy sessions to figure out what was wrong with Kerri. And I never gave up. I never gave up in that whole process. I never gave up believing that I could finally fix myself. And it was about 8 years ago that I took a right-hand turn and I said, you know what? If all this hasn't worked and I'm still like my family or my husband is still telling me that I'm the source of all their problems and I'm so difficult, then maybe it's just not going to get fixed and I'm just going to go ahead and be bad. And so 8 years ago, that's what I did. I said, forget it. I'm out of the marriage. I'm out of here. I'm sick of working on it. So in a way, I kind of quit. But I didn't actually quit because then I got connected in with a spiritual teacher that led to another spiritual teacher that led to a spiritual healing, which I'd never had one of those before then. And in 45 minutes, I was different. So from that moment on, about 8 years ago, I've dedicated myself to learning about this modality. How does this work when everything else didn't work? So not quitting, I haven't quit on myself. I haven't quit on figuring out myself. I haven't quit on loving myself. And I didn't quit on finding a relationship that I would be welcomed in, because I had these relationships up until that point where I was always the problem. So I didn't quit. Now I have a relationship. I have a marriage to a partner who's says I'm like the delight of his life. I'm like the best thing that ever happened. And I think that's the way it should be, So I think that's a pretty good no-quit story. I don't know if you have any questions about it, but it's been a big story. I was in a nutshell. That was the nutshell version.
That was a lot in a short time, and I appreciate the backstory because I think it's interesting how you get to a point, and I think it's always important to look back at where you came from and see where you are, and you've obviously had a different awakening, and now you're in a different relationship, and I think it comes through the realization that, you didn't quit per se on yourself. You just had to make a change. And I think we talk about a lot on our show is, you change lanes and you change verticals and you realize that there's something better out there. And it could be relationship, could be business. So I appreciate you touching on that, and wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind just telling our listeners a little about who you are and what you do today.
So today I am a soul guide, and what I do is I help people to take that journey to find out who they really are in truth, past all the conditioning of their early lives, the way that their parents told them who they were, the school told them who they were, or their friend told them who they were, to actually dive deeper into the soul aspect of who they really are, way beyond the body and way beyond all these conditionings in our mind. And that's a pretty sacred journey to connect one-to-one with your maker. And that's what I help people do. I help people get through all the mind chatter to connect down into this really beautiful sacred journey that it's kind of like a waking dream. It's like walking around every day in a dream state, even though you're awake. But you notice that you can interact directly with your maker, with the creator, the divine, God, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it. But it's interacting with you all the time and bringing in synchronicities and connections and powerful moments and realizations that if you're paying attention, you can totally tap into. And so that's what I figured out how to do in my life. And that's what I share with people how to do. And it's a super sacred gift that I'm really honored to be able to help people with.
Now, would you say, does it fall under the category with what you just shared, like people that believe in like the universe and signs and things like that?
I think it's a unique conversation with the divine. So what I would say is that everybody's journey and how that shows up for them is completely different. So for some people, it might look like figuring out how to find the relevant messages when they go to church. For other people, it might look like tapping into nature and taking a long nature walk and getting a profound insight on their walk. For somebody else, it might be just like they're stuck in bumper to bumper traffic and all of a sudden they see the bumper sticker on the car in front of them, and it makes complete sense for the question they've been contemplating in their life. So it shows up uniquely for every person.
I think that's really key how you touch on that is, and I believe it is whether people are religious or not spiritual or they believe in the universe. I think things do happen. I think you have to, in some ways, be in the right mindset. And I love how you touched on it before is, getting through all that mind chatter. And I think that's something that's important is we all have a million things going on through our minds. And I think the reality is if we can focus some of it, and for me, I'm just trying to figure out some of the meditation piece for me because my mind is literally going 700 miles an hour. So speaking of that, I wanted to ask you a question. One of the things that we talk about quite often is the importance of a morning routine. And I was curious if you have either a morning or a daily routine that you swear by.
Oh my goodness, yes, I do. So what I learned how to do, because the path that I entered into my sacred journey with the divine is more indigenous. It's more of an ancient indigenous path. So for me, when I start my day, I open the four directions. I open sacred space. So I invite the directions. I invite the winds of the south, the west, the north, and the east, the earth below, the stars above, the sun, the moon, the stars, the great spirit. And I invite all my animal allies. And, whatever I'm seeing in my environment, I invite it in. I welcome it. I give it attention. And I greet the day. And that brings me into presence. It brings me into presence. It also brings me into gratitude. And it's like a walking prayer. So I start my day with each direction, like the winds of the south, I might ask, please help me to be really present today and grounded and aware so that I don't miss the signs. And when I face the west, I might say, I really need help letting go of what doesn't serve me. And in order to do that, I need to be aware of it. So can you help me be aware of what I'm doing unconsciously that I could change? So if I face the winds of the north, I might say, hey, I need some support from my ancestors today because I know you guys are watching me all the time and you see me making blunders and you're kind of like, face palm, stop doing that. So can you tell me in a way that I'll get it, that I'm doing this thing so that I can make a new choice. So I just face every direction And I ask for whatever it is that day that I really feel like, hey, today this would be super helpful. And generally speaking, it happens because I'm in presence, I'm paying attention, and I start to notice it might just be my thoughts I notice. It might be an interaction that comes up with somebody in my family or somebody during my day that I recognize, oh, I'm reacting in a certain way, and I always do that thing, and I want to stop that. So then I can make a new choice. So for me, that my day starts with the four directions because I know I need help seeing what I'm doing unconsciously that I need to change.
No, I love that, and you also touched on getting into gratitude, and that's something that I think we all need to, and I say we as in not only a country but even in the world, is we all need to appreciate, I think, gratitude more than we do. And I think it's something that it's important when you focus on it. It's really, really key, no matter where you go after that time in the morning. But I think it's something that we all need to do a little more of.
And especially before bed, because that's the bookends on your day. So I don't go to bed if I'm feeling ungrateful. So I had something happen yesterday. I don't know if this happens to you, but like something will happen right before bed that it'll kind of make me mad. I'll be like, oh man, that thing has got me so mad. And if I get worked up over it and I go to sleep, I'm going to toss and turn and have bad dreams, and I'm going to be anxious, and I'm not going to sleep very well. So what I learned is to do some meditation and to really clear my mind. And the best way is when I'm meditating is I'm thinking about, okay, I'm really grateful. Everything I'm grateful for, all the stuff. And then the energy shifts, and then I sleep great. I have a great night's sleep.
I don't know the exact quote, but I know there's a quote that I've heard many times is it's impossible to be grateful and angry at the same time.
It totally is.
So speaking of success, one of the areas we talk about, and the question I'd love to ask each guest is, if you had to define success, or what does success mean to you?
Success to me means that no matter what is happening in my environment, in my life, that I can maintain at the very least neutrality and hopefully a sense of joy at what I'm learning or what I'm receiving. So I can't control what's happening outside of me. I only have control over me and how I react. So I like to feel successful by having mastery over myself.
I love that definition, and I love that question because there is no right or wrong answer. And a follow-up to that question is, if you had to define yourself, but you could only use one word, what word would you choose?
Persistent. I mean, that word really is the first thing that came into my mind. Persistent, because I just don't give up. I have not given up, and I kept going, and things are getting better every day.
I love that word, and it's something that we have also in our logo as well. So I definitely love that. Before we jump into a question about something exciting in your life, I wanted to ask if there's anything that you've read recently or you're currently reading that you'd like to recommend to our listeners.
One of my favorite books that has really helped me on my journey is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a really powerful book, and it talks about one of the four agreements is don't take anything personally, and don't make assumptions is another one. And those two things in my life, if I'd have read that book in like maybe third grade, I think I would have saved myself a lot of trouble because he makes it extremely clear in very simple language how it is that you don't take things personally and how it is to not make assumptions. It means all the difference when you can learn those two agreements.
No, it's an amazing book, and I just got introduced to him last year through my podcast actually, and I've read quite a few of his books, and that's definitely an awesome book. So speaking of what I wanted to share, you have some exciting news about July 27th, and I wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind just telling our listeners a little bit about the exciting news.
I'm really excited. I did not realize it until March, but I channeled a new book. I have connection with my higher power, and my higher power said, "Guess what? You're writing a new book this year in March." I said, "Oh, great!" So I started writing this book, and for me, it's really exciting because I really feel like this is aligned with my soul purpose in this incarnation, is to help people realize that the life that they're living is uniquely designed for them and nobody else. And so we can stop kind of comparing ourselves or trying to put ourselves in categories or containers and looking outside to figure out what the right way to live is, because you have your own unique thumbprint and it's your life that you're living, nobody else. So that's what this book is really about. It's about really getting on that path of your own conversation with the divine, your own conversation with your maker, and walking the path of it and tuning into that one station and not getting distracted by everything that's happening all around you. So the book is called The Second Wave, Transcending the Human Drama.
Second Wave. And where can our listeners either find out more about it, or where can they can they pre-order the book?
They can find out about the book and download the first chapter for free, as well as a meditation that lets them know if they're part of the second wave, who are the leaders that are bringing this movement. That website is www.thesecondwave.media. And it's spelled out, THE, and second, all spelled out, wave.media.
Awesome. And it officially launches on the 27th of July?
On the 27th, yes.
Awesome. That's right around the corner. And when this show goes live, it'll be, I think, 2.5 weeks before that. So exciting news.
Woohoo!
So you talked about the advice you'd give to yourself as a 15-year-old. I wanted to ask you, if I had the opportunity to grant you dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would you choose and why?
Dinner with anybody, dead or alive. I would love to have dinner with Oprah. And the reason why is because Oprah overcame tremendous trauma in her life and became an amazing beacon of light for millions of people on the planet. And I would love to be in service in that way. And so I'd love to just be in the energy of that and get to talk to her. I love spiritual conversation, so I would be doing less eating and more conversation happening. But yeah, if I could have dinner with Oprah, that would be amazing.
Not only has she done so much, but she's also a huge believer in the importance of failure and using it to get you to the next level, as opposed to, I think a lot of people look at failure as kind of the end result and the negative component. And she's a big believer and a big supporter of using it to motivate you to the next and to your next biggest thing. So I definitely think that would be an awesome dinner. So one of the words that we focus on with our show, and not only with our company, is the word accountability. And I just wanted to get your perspective on what accountability means to you.
Well, to me, accountability means that you take personal responsibility. So it's not about judgment or blaming or shaming anybody. It's about being able to be responsible and to take an action so that you can improve a situation. So it's just being answerable. It's answering to the call to something that needs to happen and not pushing it off on someone else.
No, I think that's a great definition, and I love that word because it's another one of those questions that has so many different meanings to different people, and I love getting our guest perspective because I always find that I learn something or I think about something a little bit differently, and I love to get people's different perspectives on it. If I could magically snap my fingers and we could be exactly 1 year from today and you could have accomplished any one thing, what would that one thing be that you'd like to accomplish?
The one thing would be that I have toured the nation with the Second Wave book, and that I have introduced people all across the country to the power of the drum journey meditation. You were talking about how you could not quiet your mind a lot, and I used to have that problem so big. And the way that I got my brain into beta state, which is the relaxed state of mind where all the dreaming happens, the visions and things like that. The way I first did that was through the shamanic drum journey, actually. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with people as I tour with my book tour across the country.
That's awesome. And I have to ask, but have you used any apps or anything in regards to meditation along the way?
I actually have not, but my favorite meditation music started off being Sandra Ingerman, Soul Journeys. She has a bunch of shamanic drum journeys, little different episodes. You can just kind of pop it in and take a journey. And now I listen to YouTube. Meditative Mind YouTube station has a bunch of solfeggio frequencies, and I love listening to those because they actually clear your energy field as you listen to them.
Would you repeat that again just for our listeners?
Yeah, it's Meditative Mind on YouTube, and they have what's called solfeggio frequencies. It's SOLFREGGIO frequencies, and I listen to one that has all 9. And by the time I'm done with an hour of that, I feel blissful.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. And I know it might be a tough question, but what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I ever received is that the most thing that matters is your connection with people and the impact you make in their lives, and that the material stuff, although it's nice to have, it's not as important because you can't take it with you. And it's not more important than your integrity and how you show up as a person and the difference you make in people's lives. Like that is so immeasurably more important than any of like the stuff that you amass.
I couldn't agree more. And I recorded another podcast episode a little while ago today, and the gentleman was talking about the same thing. As he said, he believed that when you go through different phases in your life, when you're young, maybe it might be a car or a house or a certain vacation home, and not that there's anything wrong with that or having a certain amount of money. He said as you get older, you realize that it's all the other stuff that money can't buy, and I think it's interesting, that perspective, that it changes throughout life, and I think it's a good thing, and I think it's also what it should be in a sense. If we were all as successful, knew everything at the age of 18 or 20, we wouldn't have struggles and everything would be a lot easier. But I think that's part of life, is it's not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to have those challenging times and those obstacles because they get you to that next level.
Absolutely. We're in Earth School, We're not here to like kick back. I mean, well, some people might be, but I think in general, we're all here to learn. We have our own classrooms and we're learning different lessons, and then we get, teamed up with people who are learning different lessons than us, and then we can all learn from each other. And although it's definitely crazy making, and sometimes it just downright pisses you off, but we are each other's teachers, and it's not meant to be easy. We're here to learn and grow.
No, I like it, and growing is where you learn. And I think the opposite is most people think that when things are going great, that's when you learn, and that's actually, I believe, when people become stagnant, when things are just going really well.
Absolutely, because it's super easy. And, you're not really learning from that. You might be enjoying it. And I think it's okay to, just like in a race, it's okay to take a break in a race and have a glass of water. But then you got to start running again.
I love that. I love that you said you can enjoy it, because I think that's so true. Is you can enjoy, and you should enjoy those times. But the reality is you're not growing during those times. Now you put in a lot of work prior to them, but I think it's when you actually get tested and you kind of, like you said, you fall down. You got to get back up.
Yeah, because have you ever noticed if you're like running a long race and then you slow down and you take that drink of water, it's sometimes really hard to get going again.
That's why so many people, when they're running, they don't ever stop. And some training for marathons or things, people teach them, when you're drinking water, don't stop at all. Keep walking or even jogging. But because they said the exact same thing that you just said, is once you stop, even if it's for 30 seconds, it's so much harder to get going.
It is. And I think that's why people get stuck in the dead-end jobs and things that aren't really fulfilling because of fear. Like they let the fear overcome them instead of facing that, overcoming it, and getting to the other side where all the juicy good stuff is.
No, I love it. So we're going to switch lanes here into what I call our hot seat questions. And the only thing we ask of you is that you just spit out the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So do you have a favorite sport?
Soccer.
If I could give you one last meal and you could have absolutely anything you wanted, what would you choose for your last meal?
Pizza and dark chocolate cake.
Do you have a favorite team?
No.
Favorite smell?
Flowers.
Favorite quote?
Oh, you were supposed to ask me this earlier. Favorite quote? Wherever you go, there you are.
I loved it. All-time favorite movie?
The Matrix.
Ooh, favorite? Do you have an all-time favorite book?
I think my favorite book is probably The Four Agreements.
Okay. Favorite singer, group, or band?
Erykah Badu.
Nice. And if you were stuck in a foxhole, you could only have one person to have your back, who would it be?
My husband, Akeem Sami.
All right. He gets extra credit points. Hopefully he's listening.
He will.
So what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, follow you, or find out more about you and not only your book that's coming out?
Absolutely. Well, I am Kerri Hummingbird, and that's Kerri, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and my website is kerrihummingbird.com. So it's Kerri hummingbird.com.
Are you on MySpace? No, just kidding.
Do they even have that anymore?
I don't even know. I just had to ask that. So before we let you go, I just wanted to ask if you have any parting words you'd like to leave with our listeners.
Yeah, I would say don't ever let anybody tell you who you are. And you are your own unique design. There's nobody else like you. And it's proven because you have a unique thumbprint. And why in the world would you have a unique thumbprint if you weren't unique? So nobody else can be like you. So people may not understand you, they may not get you. And it doesn't matter because as long as you get you, that's all you need to do. So stop worrying about what other people think and start tuning in to your own station and taking the ride. It's a pretty amazing one.
I could not say that better. So listen, Kerri, I truly appreciate not only your time, what you shared with us, and I hopefully recommend that not only our listeners check you out, but check out your new book and follow you on your social media channels. And I hope you and I can speak again soon.
Absolutely, Chris. I look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you for listening to episode number 223. Kerri Hummingbird is doing what she loves today and paying it forward spiritually for others. As a soul guide, she is helping others find out who they truly are, and in the end, she's helping people become much happier. I absolutely love how she doesn't limit people, and she is so positive in her approach towards what works for others, whether it's through religion, spiritually, nature, or even the universe. Kerri is helping other people find themselves. One thing she mentioned that I wrote down quite a few times, and that was the importance of getting through our own mind chatter. So my challenge to you today is just that. How do you personally better control, understand, or even master your own mind chatter? I've read that we as human beings have between 50,000 and 100,000 different thoughts that go through our head every single day. Now, clearly, we can't control everything that we think about or everything that pops into our head, but we can do a better job at how we personally deal with it and react and respond. So as you go for your greatness today, take a couple of minutes for yourself. And when you encounter some of that mind chatter, turn down the volume or perhaps even change the channel if necessary. Start small today with a couple of minutes and build on it tomorrow. Today's episode is sponsored by the good people over at West Fair Communications, who publish the Westchester County Business Journal and the Fairfield County Business Journal. These newspapers do a wonderful job in covering all aspects of the business world within two of the most influential markets in the New York metropolitan area. You can also take advantage of their daily news feeds, which keep track on the companies and thought leaders in these important regions. For more information, take a look at www.westfaironline.com. Trust me, once you start reading, you won't quit. In life, we all encounter obstacles, and those obstacles come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. The question is, how do we handle those obstacles? Do we attack them head on, or do we allow them to make us quit? Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to motivate and inspire listeners to never give up on themselves, their dreams, or their goals. We will interview successful people from all walks of life as they share their no-quit stories when they had the choice to give up or give in, but they didn't. We thank you for listening, and we hope to be that jolt of positivity as you go for your greatness.